Welcome everybody to Via Trading's Flea Market Vendor Training Webinar. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Thank you for being here. We have a lot of people already tuning in and hopefully some more will trickle in. We're really thrilled with the interest in this webinar, and I hope that you're going to get as much out of it as I think you will. I'm going to share my screen with you now, and let's get the show on the road. All right, here we go. Fast track your flea market success. Strategies to increase your sales and improve customer loyalty. Welcome, and let's begin. I'm going to give you a few words about who I am, first of all, so you know who is presenting to you. My name is Natanya Stambouli. I am the Marketing Director of Via Trading Corporation, which is a leading liquidation company in the industry. I have 10 years of experience educating secondary retailers, that is flea market vendors, online sellers, discount store owners, and more, on sales and marketing techniques and developing business growth resources for this market segment. I'm a contributing author to Flea Market Zone, Independent Retailer, and additional websites and publications that cater to the secondary retailer's needs. I'm also, in my free time, a yoga practitioner, singer, and animal lover, for those of you who are curious. A few words about Via Trading. Who are we and what do we do? We are one of the largest wholesale liquidators in the USA, and we have served over 30,000 small businesses since we opened the company in 2002. We've been recognized by the Inc. 5000 and the LA Business Journal for 7 years running now as one of the fastest growing companies in the country and in LA. We are a proud sponsor of the National Flea Market Association. Our warehouse is in Los Angeles and is open to the public with over 240,000 square feet of merchandise for you to look at. We offer worldwide service. We don't just cater to Los Angeles people. We also ship and work and provide education to small businesses worldwide. And we offer unparalleled industry education to our community. Our priority is not only making sure that our customers have profitable products to sell, but also that we teach them really how to maximize the profits that they can get out of this merchandise. Why are we here today? Well, it's pretty simple. We want to grow the flea market industry. We know that there are huge opportunities for financial independence and success in flea markets. Virtually anyone can start their own flea market business, become their own boss, and take their finances into their own hands, and we're very passionate about growing that industry. We also find that there is not enough education or information out there for people who want to start a business in flea markets or to grow their business, so our mission is to increase the amount of education that's available. We also know that vendors can make or break their business pretty easily. There are little things that people can do that can make a huge difference in the positive and in the negative. So we want to make sure that we clarify that for people and so that vendors can avoid making some very simple mistakes. We also know that small changes can have a huge impact, and we would like to really teach you how to make this huge impact with very small changes. So today I'm going to give you actionable steps to make these powerful changes in your business. Whether you're just starting out or you've already been selling at flea markets for 10 years, I guarantee you there's going to be something in here that you're going to be able to apply today to see immediate improvements in your business. What are we going to cover? We're going to cover a few different topics. Market research and preparation, and I'll go into what that means as we go through each section. We're going to talk about business process improvement, effective merchandising, marketing your business, providing good customer service and salesmanship, and product sourcing. All right, so the next slides are going to be delving right into the content. We're going to be here together for about an hour, possibly an hour and 15 minutes. All right, let us continue. First things first, market research and preparation. You need to research and assess the flea markets that you are considering before you actually begin. Because it's easy to just pick a market, but is it going to be the right market for you? Is it going to be the right market for the products that you'd like to sell? There's some research that's involved. So one of the first things you're going to want to know is, what is the market's main customer base? What are the ages, the genders, the culture of the people who are going there? The main people who frequent the market are going to make a big difference as to the types of products that you're going to want to sell, and you're going to be able to decide if that's a market that you want to cater to or not. Secondly, what are the main product lines the market offers? So go to different flea markets in your area. Walk up and down the aisles and see, what are people selling? Are they selling a lot of toys? Is it more clothing based? Is it household product based? Or is there a bit of everything? Third of all, what product lines have the most competition? Do you see a ton of sellers for a particular kind of product, or is it a pretty fair mix? Noting these things in advance will make it easier when you go to buy your merchandise to resell. Now, what are the price ranges for most items? It's important to know what kind of pricing you're looking at. Some flea markets cater to slightly higher end products, so you'll find brand names and goods that are normally sold in higher end retail stores where customers will pay $10, $20, $25, $30 for an item. And then you have flea markets that are really geared towards the deep, deep discounts, and the shoppers there are really looking for an amazing deal. They want to spend $1, $5 at the most on an item. So make sure you're aware of what's going on as far as the price ranges that the flea market is offering. Next, find out, are there any restrictions on product categories or the numbers of vendors for each? Some flea markets restrict the number of vendors that can sell a particular category. They'll say, we want no more than 10 toy vendors at this flea market and no more than 8 clothing vendors. So make sure you find out those rules. You can get that information from the main office of any of the flea markets that you're considering. Next is leasing rules and fees. Every flea market is going to charge you either a membership fee, some of them charge parking fees, there's definitely going to be a lease terms fee or a leasing fee, and in some cases they even charge an entrance fee. Some markets waive the entrance fee if you're a vendor there and they only charge it to the buyers, and others don't. So make sure you get all of the fees laid out in a clear way so that you know how much money you're going to have to invest up front, how much it's going to cost you to sell, and so you have all of your budgeting in order. And finally, take note of the areas that have the highest foot traffic. Not every area is going to have the same exposure. Some areas towards the back of the flea market might get less foot traffic, obviously, than the main aisles. However, it doesn't have to be in a main aisle to be a really good booth. You can get a lot of good foot traffic near the bathrooms, near the hot dog stand, near the refreshments. So just keep in mind, where is the bulk of the pedestrian traffic moving towards, and keep those areas in mind because those are going to be good spots to look out for your booth placement. While selecting a booth location, as we spoke about, you want to look at the high traffic areas, main aisles, bathroom areas, refreshment areas, and you also want to look at being away from too much direct competition. So if you picked an area, you really like this aisle because there's a lot of foot traffic, but you're selling toys and there's an additional 8 toy vendors adjacent to your potential booth, that might not be the best location. Competition is great and it's healthy, but ideally we want to put you in an area where you're not going to be competing with your direct neighbors. A couple of tips here. Test out different locations to see what works best for you. The same location might not work the same for every vendor. So before you sign any kind of long-term lease, you can take some time. Try a couple of days at this location, a couple of days at that location, even try out different markets, and really come up with the combination that's going to be the best for you. Once you've figured all of that out, consider signing a lease rather than doing a day-by-day rental. You can rent booth spaces by the day. It is advantageous when you don't want to sell every day, you only want to do this part-time, or you want to test out different markets before you make a decision. But once you're decided and you're going to have a set schedule and you're going to be at the market fairly regularly, consider signing a longer-term lease. That's going to give you discounted pricing on your space, and it's going to allow you to avoid standing in line at 5:30 in the morning to get a space. Most flea markets raffle off their spaces early in the morning or have a waiting list. And so booking your space in advance will guarantee you're in the same place every time, and you avoid the lines and you avoid the waiting, and you have everything set up every day before you go. Next thing you can do as you prepare is consider investing in a professional canopy. A lot of flea market vendors like to do it themselves and just string some sheets and some tarps together to create canopies. While that works, it's not always very attractive. And investing in a professional canopy like this one can allow you to brand it. You can have a logo printed on it if you have a company name or you want to create a company name. You can put the name of your business on it. You can put your hours or a contact phone number, or just leave it as is. But the point is, a professional canopy looks clean, is really easy to set up. You'll be set up in less than 3 minutes, and is easy to take down and pack into your car. This is an example of a homemade canopy. It's much cheaper, but it can be more difficult to use and look uninviting. You have to clip the items on. A lot of the times they fall off the poles, and it can be much more tricky to manage. Now, just for you guys to know, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to be giving you a sheet of resources where you can find out where to buy all the things that we're going to talk about today, where to get all the things we're going to talk about today. It's going to be a document that's really going to allow you to just take it and run with it. You'll have all your vendors, all the places you can go for merchandise, all the places you can go for research. It'll all be right there. So stick with us till the end if you can. Next thing that's very important to do is to prepare yourself to avoid shoplifters. The National Retail Federation did a survey in 2012 where 96% of retailers said they were victims of theft. 96%, and that was regular, brick and mortar retailers. We can safely assume that with flea markets, when you don't have metal detectors or beepers or any of those security tags, though that percentage is probably 100%. I would venture to say every flea market vendor has experienced some degree of theft. So it's a good idea to protect yourself in advance. There are several ways you can do that. You can use locking display cases or locking display units to protect higher value or easy to steal items. You can also keep higher value items closer to you in the booth. So if you're behind your booth and you have a table in front of you, keep any more expensive items closer to your side of the table and put the cheaper stuff closer to the customer side of the table. That way, if you do have a situation where somebody walks by and swipes something, they'll be walking away with something of low value and something that's not going to hurt your bottom line. Ideally, bring someone to help you. You can have somebody watch the merchandise while you are busy making sales. Or use an apron with pockets or a fanny pack for your cash instead of a cash box. The only downside to a cash box is anytime you turn your head, that cash box is unattended. And someone can knock it over, someone can take it and run. Your cash is not super safe in a cash box. Ideally, you would either place money in your pockets or get an apron, like in the picture on the right, where you can just slide the cash into the front pocket so it's always on your person. And you don't have to worry about anybody taking it and running away. This is an example of locking display cases that are used for jewelry. So as you can see in this picture, the items that are in the front of the table where customers have access, those are locked. And in the back, you have the items that are unlocked. So in theory, it's much more difficult for a thief to grab anything from the back because they would have to physically reach over, which would give the vendor time to see it and stop it. So that's a neat trick for keeping everything organized, attractive, and safe. Our next topic is business process improvement. There are things that you can do to streamline your processes, your pricing, your payment strategies, etc. So the first thing is capture your customers' information. Many flea market vendors believe that the customers are the flea market's customers. Well, they're actually your customers. They're coming and they're buying from you. You can build a relationship with them and you can stay in touch with them so that you can sell to them again in the future. And that is a mindset. It's a very small shift to make, but it's one that's going to make a huge difference because once you're able to capture your customers' information, you can market to them later. And if you can market to them later, you can bring them back to your booth and make repeat sales. So keep track of who you sell to. People who buy from you are your customers. Capture each customer's email address or phone number on a notepad when they purchase. So when you're making your sale, ask the customer to write down their information if it's feasible for you. If not, have them like your Facebook page on the spot and give them a small discount. We're going to revisit this last point in the marketing section about how to create a Facebook page for your flea market booth. But in any case, if you do have one, have them like your Facebook page, because that will information for you and you'll be able to reach them again at a later time. Another thing that's interesting to do is to accept credit card and PayPal payments. Now, I know what you're thinking. Most people say, no, 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 flea markets is a cash business. Nobody wants to deal with credit cards. There's too much paperwork. There are fees, and we just don't want to deal with it. Fair enough. However, it is an option to add in addition to what you're already doing. None of these suggestions are made to replace what you're already doing. They're merely suggestions that can be used to improve what you're already doing. So accepting credit card or PayPal payments helps you avoid losing out on sales if customers don't have enough cash. I don't know about you, but even when I go to a flea market, I come with $20 or $30. But if I've gone through and I've loved what I've seen with 10 different vendors and I've spent my $20 or $30, I don't have any more cash to spend, and so I'm just going to walk away from another purchase. So if I were to walk up to a booth and the vendor told me that he accepted credit cards if that's all I had, but that I might have to spend a minimum of $30 in order to use my credit card, I might consider it. So you can set a minimum, and you don't have to accept a credit card for $5. You can say, okay, if you're going to spend 30 or 35 or 50 or whatever that minimum is, then yes, you can use a credit card. That way, it'll encourage customers to purchase more in order to meet that minimum, and it'll allow you to service more customers that might otherwise not have been able to purchase. If you do decide to accept credit card payments, advertise it. Put a sign prominently somewhere. And if you don't want to advertise it, that's fine too, but be prepared to let people know if they're, digging through their purse and they can't come up with the cash to pay for their purchase. Let them know, hey, by the way, I take credit cards, but you have a minimum. So here, how about you buy these 2 additional items, you'll meet your minimum, and we can get you out of here and on your way. Accepting credit card payments is very easy. You can set up a merchant account with your bank and then simply use smartphone apps. There are many, many apps available, and I've highlighted a couple below, like Square, Go Payments, Pay Anywhere, or Verifone Sale. These are 4 different apps that allow you to charge credit cards on the fly from your smartphone. PayPal also has one, and they usually mail you a little attachment that you plug into the headphone jack of your phone, and you're able to just swipe a credit card and it gets deposited directly into your bank account. Now you need to know that generally these credit card processing merchants do charge a fee. It is usually between 2 and 3% of the transaction amount. So if you're doing very small transactions with a credit card, that's not so attractive. So raising your credit card minimum can make it more worthwhile, because yes, while you're going to have to pay 2 or 3% to the bank for the transaction fee, you are going to make a bigger sale as a result, so they kind of offset each other. Next point in business process improvement is to price your products correctly. Pricing strategies vary depending on how you purchase your merchandise. In the liquidation industry, there are a couple of ways to buy merchandise. You can buy manifested lots, and we're going to talk about exactly what that is and how it works. And you can buy unmanifested lots. So we're going to talk about the difference between the two now and how you price the items based on how you buy them. This is an example of a manifested lot. So the row at the top gives you the SKU, or the item number, the price of the pallet, in this case $3,915.01, the number of units, in this case 343, the number of pallets, the average price per unit, the average price per pallet, and additional figures like the percentage that you pay off the retail value, the wholesale and retail value, and the average retail per unit. So the above line really tells you everything you need to know about any load you're considering purchasing. Below that is a snippet of an Excel sheet, and I've highlighted 2 different items here. And the purpose of highlighting this, if you look at the column that says approximate unit retail, you can see that these 2 pairs of shoes were sold originally in the original store that they came from for $45 for one of them and $139 for the other. So if you go back to the top and you look at your average price per unit, which is right here where it says pricing manifested lots, right underneath that, it shows that you paid $11.41 per pair in this particular load. However, you're not really paying that price because in this situation, you're paying a percentage of the value of the load. So right here where it says price percentage 13%, you're paying 13% of the retail price of this merchandise when it was at the retail store. So going back to our two examples below, this first pair of shoes, which is a Converse brand, was $45 at the original store. You're paying a percentage of retail. In the case below, actually, it was 12%, so my mistake there. You're paying 12% of retail, so that means that this particular pair of shoes cost you $5.40. If you look below at the next one, that was a Nine West pair of shoes. The original price for that one in the store was $139. You paid 12%, so you're paying $16.68 for this pair. So yes, you paid an average of $11.41 per pair, but the manifest allows you to know exactly what you paid for each pair so you can come to price it more effectively. So the Converse pair, you know you paid $5.40 for it. You could theoretically sell it for $15, $20, even less. You could sell it for $10. Even though you paid an average of $11.41, this actual pair only cost you $5.40. So you can charge less than $11 if you wanted to, but you should be able to charge much more. The pair below it, the $16.68 pair, you know that you paid more than the $11.41 for this one. So you're going to want to sell it for more. You can sell it for $25, for $30, or if you're okay with a smaller margin, you can even sell it for $20. The point here is if you purchase manifested merchandise, in the majority of cases, you're going to know the original price of the item and what you paid for it, which makes it much easier to determine your selling price. The next way you can purchase is unmanifested lots with a defined piece count. So some wholesalers will sell merchandise with an exact piece count, so you'll know, hey, this box has 250 items inside. And you'll also be able to purchase a box with an unknown number of items inside. We'll talk about that one next. But this one, with an exact number of units, you know how much you paid per piece. Your cost per unit is the total price of your box divided by the number of units that are inside. In this particular example, one box of L'Oreal Cosmetics costs $387.50, let's say. There are 250 pieces inside. So if you divide the cost by the number of pieces, you find out your price per unit. So in this case, your price per unit would have been $1.55. This doesn't mean that you have to sell everything at more than $1.55. A lot of the time that's not going to be possible. Not every item inside each lot is going to be equally profitable. But this gives you a good starting point because now you know, okay, so I paid $1.55 per unit. I could charge $3 for a lipstick, let's say. I could charge $4 for a mascara that's much higher value and much more popular of an item, and I can charge only $1 for nail polish. Yes, that nail polish is going to be sold at below what you paid for it, but you're going to be making the bulk of your profit on the other items that you're going to be charging more money for. And finally, the third one is pricing unmanifested assorted lots that have no piece count, just one overall price. So let's say you buy a pallet of merchandise and you know that it costs you $250, but you don't know how many units are inside. That happens a lot in this industry and it's very common. So what do you do in a case like that? Well, the best thing to do is to recuperate your investment from the high value items first. So first thing to do is go through the whole pallet, separate everything, and figure out, okay, what is going to get me the most money from this load? Put that to the side and focus on recuperating as much of your investment as you can, and hopefully a profit, from those items alone. Any items you have that you're not familiar with and you don't know how much they originally cost, research them. People make a lot of mistakes by underpricing items simply because they don't know what they're worth. So if you have an item you don't recognize but it either comes in a box or there's some kind of label on it that you can research it with, type it into Google and see what comes up. Look at what it sells for on Amazon, what it sells for on eBay, and it'll help you figure out what you can realistically get for it at the flea market so you don't underprice or overprice an item. Consider pricing your items, the lower value items, to move quickly. I have a couple of people I've worked with who insisted on getting the absolute most out of every item that they could. And while I really appreciate that in terms of maximizing your profits, it actually is fairly limiting because they ended up sitting on merchandise for a longer time than they needed to. So if we know that we're going to be recuperating the majority of the investment from the higher value items, the lower value items, you can just price them to sell like hotcakes. It's going to make the merchandise move quicker, cash flow is going to be moving better, and it'll allow you to reinvest. So have the goal of getting your money back as quickly as possible, so then you can reinvest either into the same kind of mix if it was good for you, or you can try out a different kind of mix until you really find the bread and butter for your business. Our next section is about merchandising. Now, merchandising has the power to stop customers in their tracks or let them walk right by your booth. Obviously, we don't want to let them walk right by, so let's look at what we can do to merchandise your booth in a way that really, really talks to people. One thing you can do is to highlight popular items or items that speak to your demographic. So if you're catering to teenagers, let's say, and you have the latest, hottest items that you know teenagers are going to love, highlight those. Hang them from the top of your canopy. Put them right front and center on your table. Don't leave them in the back somewhere. Really talk to your demographic and make sure that when they walk by your booth, the item that you know is going to be the most attractive to them is right there front and center. Next, organize your booth by category. People don't usually like to expend too much effort looking for something. So set up your booth by category so even displaying a large volume of items can look clear and intentional. In the picture below, at a glance the booth might look messy, but if you get a little bit closer, it's actually super organized. Everything is in sections. There is a poster below the section that gives you an idea of what's in the section above. The pricing is clear, and it is really very well organized. So no matter what you're selling, you can put your shoes on one side, your belts on the other, your electronics on the other side. Be creative, but be specific in your categorizing of the merchandise. It'll make a big difference in how easily customers are able to find what they're looking for. Cross-sell and upsell. In this example, this vendor displayed dolls inside baby carriers. He sold dolls and he sold baby carriers. But instead of just putting the baby carriers empty on the ground like that, he put the dolls inside, which will do two things. It will cross-sell, so especially if a mom is there shopping with her daughter, for example, the child is likely to go nuts for the doll. Mom might find what she's looking for in the infant carrier, and you might make a double sale instead of just selling the one item. Secondly, it allows you to display the items in a cuter way or in a more attractive way. Displaying the dolls in the baby carriers demonstrates what the carriers are used for and allows you to display the dolls as opposed to just having to lean them up against something somewhere else in your booth. So always look at your merchandise and see where can we bundle items together, or how can we display items together in a way that makes sense and in a way that might encourage a customer to buy both. Next, use racks and appropriate displays. As I walk through flea markets to take pictures and do research for these presentations, I noticed there are a lot of flea market vendors who display their merchandise on the ground. And while there's nothing wrong with using the ground, it does devalue the perceived value of your merchandise. It makes it look cheaper than it is, and it makes it look less attractive than it is. Using displays and racks to hang items, to display items, increases their perceived value, thus increasing the amount of money you can get for them, and just makes you look more professional. And people generally like to buy from people who are professional and who know what they're doing. You can also, however, add some cheap either bins or tables where you can just throw all your cheaper items. This is an interesting dichotomy, actually. I had a conversation with another attendee of a class I offered prior, and I used to recommend only using racks and displays. And this lady told me, she said, no, my customers love to rummage through boxes of goodies to find their treasure. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? You're right. A lot of people do like to do that. But I wouldn't force them to. I would offer both. If you have the room in your booth and you have the merchandise that lends itself, put your racks and your nice displays in one area, and do offer a table or a bin for like the clearance section, if you will, or the rummage section. That way you cater to both types of people. People who like to dig around and spend half an hour finding their treasure, or people who want to go straight to the rack that has their size or their style on it and look and buy what they want very quickly and easily. So consider offering both or testing it out and see what works best. A table with a bunch of mixed stuff or a nicely organized racking system. This is an example of using mannequins to highlight specific styles of clothing and then using racks below it with the actual assortment. So this particular booth is using both bottoms of mannequins and torsos to display skirts and tops, and this is a nice use of different display materials to highlight what's available. This booth also does a good job of organizing their items. It's only hats, and each hat has a mannequin head on it with the style of the hat displayed, and a box underneath with all hats in that style. Every box has a separate price. It's very clear. There's very little interaction needed from the vendor in this case. The customer knows what he's getting. He knows the pricing. He knows where to find the style that he wants. And this is a pretty good setup. These booths have beautiful jewelry items, but the majority of them are not displayed in a way that enhances their value, and they're too easy to steal. As you can see, all the items that are in the front there, those are up for grabs for anyone who is just walking by and interested in swiping something. And they're also, some of these pieces might actually be really nice and high value, but only a couple of them are displayed on mannequin necks and made to look valuable. So a recommendation for this booth would be to do what this vendor is doing, which is displaying her jewelry in a way that allows her to highlight its value while still keeping it safe. Customers can see the items from all sides. They need to ask in order to see an item. It protects everything from theft, it protects it from dust, and it allows the perceived value of the items to be maintained. Cosmetics are another type of item that can be organized attractively to encourage more sales. This booth does separate the cosmetics by category. You have the eyeshadows in the front, foundations in the middle there, your lip items in the middle back, and then your nail polishes all the way in the back. That's great. Customers can find what they're looking for, but again, the perceived value isn't there. Items that are strewn on a table don't encourage somebody necessarily to spend what they could spend on them. And it's also not very eye-catching. However, displaying cosmetics on a display units such as these are actually developed by Via Trading, and we offer them to a lot of flea market vendors, is the advantage to using something like this is that you can use both the hanging tags and the display boxes to cater to both types of customers. If a customer likes to rummage, they can rummage through the display boxes. If a customer likes to look for the items in a clear and organized way, they can shop off of the hang tabs. This caters to all kinds of buyers, organizes your goods in a very attractive way, and is eye-catching. Somebody who walks by the flea market stand is going to stop and look at something bright and well-organized versus at items strewn on a table. Next very important point is don't block access to your booth. It's very important to make sure there's a big enough space that customers can walk through without squeezing, and enough space for them to see what's inside your booth. This booth, I love it. Everything is super well highlighted. She's using mannequins. She's highlighting her hottest items. We know who her target market is. She's catering to young women. However, how do you get in? There are 2 openings, actually, in this booth, but they're really not clear. So my recommendation to this vendor would be to open up a bigger space. That might mean removing a mannequin or 2, Or it might mean putting in a sign that says more merchandise here that encourages the customer to walk in. I walked into this lady's booth and she had a ton more stuff inside. But I would never have known because I couldn't see it from the front and the entrance wasn't even that clear. So make sure that your booth layout is such that it invites people to walk in and that the entrance is very obvious. All right, that sums up the merchandising section. Let's chat about marketing. Don't rely on the flea market to market for you. The success of your business is in your hands. I cannot stress this enough. Yes, the flea market will bring people in to the market, but those customers are yours, and they are the ones who will be able to keep you in business and keep coming back. So it's your job to market to them. So make sure that your customers leave your booth with a way to get in touch with you. At a flea market, you might move around, you might change booth locations, you might be selling at different markets. So I'm going to show you how you can make sure they leave with a way to find you again. Communicate to your customers even when you're not selling. If you're running a special promotion or you decided to add a completely new category of product to your offerings, that's something you can let your customers know while you're not even at the market. So that the next time they come visit you, they're prepared with cash in their pockets to see what's new. And finally, make your booth as visible as it can be within the flea market. Ultimately, in the market, you're competing with hundreds of other businesses. Making your booth stand out is very important. So the best way to make sure that people leave your booth with a way to get in touch with you is to make inexpensive business cards. You can add your phone number, your booth space, your days or hours of operation, and your social media links so customers can get in touch and buy from you again anytime. So I'm going to be giving you also in the resource document that's going to be available to you after the webinar. I'm going to be giving you information about where to get really cost-effective business cards, and in some cases even free business cards. Coupons. Coupons are a great way to increase customer loyalty. For example, once a customer spends a certain amount of money with you, let's say $20 or $30, you can have pre-printed coupons at your booth and give them a coupon for X amount of dollars, in this case $2, off of their next purchase. Coupons always make people feel good. They get excited that they got something, and the customer will likely stop by your booth again the next time they're at the market to take advantage of their coupon. And your coupon is also an opportunity for you to put your business hours or your contact information. You could do business card and coupon in one if you want. Another idea is to invest in plastic or paper bags. Now this idea is twofold. You could, if you wanted to, invest in pre-printed plastic bags. There are a lot of companies that print on grocery type shopping bags, and you could hand those out to every customer. Not only is it going to help them carry their purchases, and they might even be more likely to buy more stuff because they'll be able to carry it out, but they will also advertise your booth wherever they go with that plastic bag throughout the flea market and also outside of the market. Obviously, printed shopping bags are going to be more expensive, so that might be too much for you at this stage, but just equipping yourself with some regular plastic bags or paper bags can allow you to make the sales that you want to make. If you sell bigger items especially, customers are only going to be able to carry 1 or 2 items with them, so having bags that they can shove items into will allow them to purchase and carry more. Next thing, set up a Facebook page. If you don't already have one, you can set up a free Facebook page for your business. And this is not your personal Facebook page. I mean an actual Facebook page for your flea market stand. In the example below, this flea market booth in Florida, I believe, has already 486 likes, and they post their opening hours, they post a phone number, the flea market that they sell at, and special offers and new products that they receive. So creating a Facebook page costs you nothing, and it allows you to have people stay in touch with you. So if you remember in our previous example earlier in the presentation, we talked about having customers like your Facebook page on the spot. You can do that. So if a customer is standing right in front of you and has just made a purchase, you can say, hey, I'd love to keep in touch with you and let you know what's new, send you promotional offers, coupons, discounts, would you mind liking my Facebook page? Most likely they'll do it right there on the spot, and that's it. That customer is then recorded as a fan of your Facebook page, and you will be able to send out messages to reach that customer again in the future. Next thing is signage. Use clean, bright, and professional-looking signs. Homemade signs, like the ones on this image, on torn pieces of cardboard, do the job. I'm not going to lie. It's clear, that's the price of the item, but they don't call attention because the color is dull, nor do they communicate professionalism. And if we're going to take all these steps to make our booth well organized and professional looking, signage is a part of that. So whenever possible, invest in some pre-printed price signs, or use nice paper and at least a nice marker of a bright color in order to create your signs. And in your resource booklet also, you're going to have information about where you can get these pre-printed pricing signs for very affordable prices. This is another example of how pre-printed signs can really make a big difference. Here, you know immediately how much the item is. It tells you, I mean, there's a cute little joke. You can also communicate any 2-for-1 offers directly on the signs. Usually, bright background, dark writing stands out the most. Think reds, think yellows. Those are going to be the colors that are your best friends, and orange. In addition, I really like this idea. The picture isn't the best, but the concept is brilliant. You can use a whiteboard easel with bright colored markers to communicate different specials throughout the day. So let's say you start off the day, you can put your easel out front, get a big thick red Sharpie or dry erase board marker, and put, you know, this item is on special until 12:30. And at 12:30, you can change the messaging and highlight a new item, highlight a new promotion, and constantly change your messaging throughout the day. This is a great way to keep things fresh and to test out what messaging works best. Not everything's going to work best for everyone. You can also invest in color banners for an even bigger impact. This particular vendor at this flea market repairs computers, so he made a big, bright sign. It's very obvious what he does, and people can point him out from a distance when they're walking through the flea market. If you want to take it a step further, you can do a flag banner like this guy. You can see this photo and video booth from the entrance of the flea market and from anywhere within the flea market. That flag stands about almost 20 feet tall and just dominates the flea market. These can be a couple of $100s, but they're usually very sturdy. They're made for the outdoors, and they will resist sun and rain and wind, and they can be a really good investment to make your booth as visible as it can be inside the flea market and drive traffic to your space all the time. All right, that concludes our marketing section. Let's move on. We have 2 more sections before we wrap up. Customer service and salesmanship. Very important to engage all potential customers. Be friendly, be smiling, and most importantly, appear available. Don't be napping or texting or reading a book. I get that the days are long and sometimes it's boring if not too many people are walking by, but you're selling yourself and your business. If you're sitting there texting on the phone or reading a book, nobody's going to approach to ask you a question. People are going to be shy to approach you. So it's your job to really engage and ask if you can be of service. Be open to bargaining also. No price should be final. People love to bargain. People love a good deal. So take that into account when you're setting your pricing. Set a price that's going to allow you a little bit of wiggle room. If people don't bargain with you, great. You made a little bit extra on that sale. But if you've got customers that are, dead set on getting the best possible deal, give yourself a little bit of margin so you're still making a profit after you finish your bargaining and settle on a final price. Also, demonstrate something. If you have some items to repair or if you're building something, do it in your booth. People love watching people do things. So if you have some work to do that doesn't involve texting or reading a book, you can go ahead and do it while at your booth. People might stop, they might take an interest in what you're doing, they might ask you questions about what you're doing, and that'll kickstart a conversation about your products. Always consider the following. Offer volume discounts and upsell. Instead of only having one fixed price for every item you sell, consider bundling items together or saying, hey, if you buy one, it's going to be $5, but if you buy two of them, it's only going to be $8. Or you can say, hey, you can buy a pen by itself and you can buy a stapler by itself, but if you buy the pen and the stapler, I'm going to throw in a free eraser, as an example. So always cross-sell your merchandise, upsell the customer, and try to make combination sales as much as possible. It'll move your product faster and you'll make a higher profit. Always be upfront with customers about damages. Honesty goes a really long way. Customers who shop at flea markets are looking for a good deal, and sometimes that might mean the good deal will come in a form of an imperfect item. And that's fine. Most people will be okay with that, as long as you tell them. So engage in honest business practices. If you're selling an item that you know is either not working, or has a scratch, or has a dent, or is missing a power cord that's easily replaceable, for example, let the customer know in advance. It'll say volumes about your business, and the customer will feel more confident with the items he's purchasing from you. Be polite and appreciative of your customers, no matter how small the sale is. If somebody's buying $2 worth of stuff, treat them the same as you would somebody who's buying $40 worth of stuff. Every customer has a potential to become your best customer. Approach people who are looking and open the conversation. Don't be pushy, but do wish them a good day, ask them how they're doing, and ask them if you can help with anything. Very importantly, know your merchandise. Know what you're selling and be ready to describe it. If somebody goes through your racks and picks up an item where it's not very clear to them what it is, and they come to you and they say, hey, what is this? You better know. When you're going through and setting up your pricing, anything that you are not sure what it is, look it up. Because if you respond to that customer and you say, I'm not too sure, I think it's used for this, they're likely to say, okay, thank you, and walk away. But if you look at the item and you say, oh, yes, absolutely, this is a device that's used to hang items off of the back of a door in your living room, there you go. There's an answer, and the customer can immediately make a decision as to yes or no. But at least it's an educated decision. So know what you're selling and be prepared to give a bullet point or two about each item if you're asked. Finally, offer candies or treats that people can grab. Put a bowl out on your table with some chocolates or whatever you want. Candy always stops traffic. And if it doesn't stop mom and dad, it sure is going to stop the kids. And as soon as you've got a captive audience in front of your booth, you can engage them. This is one of my favorites. Certain markets don't allow games, so please research the rules at the particular flea market you're considering. But if your market does, considering offering game of chance, where customers win a discount. So you can put some jelly beans in a jar or anything else in a jar and make a big sign and say, hey, guess how many beans are in this jar, and at 2 p.m. today, we're going to pick the winner, and the winner is going to get a free something, whether that's a discount coupon or it's, you know, an additional freebie, whatever it might be. Offering these kinds of games can keep customers interested. It can make people stick around so that they can see if they won at 2 p.m. And it can just make your booth fun and a place that people want to stop. All right, moving on. I believe this is the last section. So another few minutes and we're going to be wrapping up. Product sourcing and inventory. Loss leaders. Loss leaders are an important concept to understand if you're not familiar with them already. A loss leader is a product that is sold at a price close to its cost that is used to stimulate sales of other, more profitable goods or services. So, for example, a supermarket's loss leaders might be eggs, bread, and milk. They're not making huge profits on those items. But they're strategically going to place the eggs, bread, and milk next to other super yummy things that people can't resist, items where the supermarket does make a bigger profit. So when you're sourcing products, don't be turned off by something that has a price that you deem too high. Maybe it's too high, But could that item be attractive enough to bring people to your booth? For example, if you can buy a flat screen TV, but it's priced not really at a flea market price, is that a big deal? Could you theoretically put that TV in the entrance of your booth to get people to stop? And once they stop and you start talking to them, you can make sales of the other more profitable products in your booth. So loss leaders, there's great value in them for attracting buyers to your booth. Don't disqualify an item just because you think it's too expensive. Look at what it is. If it's a super attractive item that you know people are looking for, you can afford to spend a little bit more for it and make a little bit less money on it because it's going to attract a lot of people to your booth. Place them front and center to catch everybody's attention. And don't forget that your real profits will be made on the additional sales you make to a customer who stops to ask about the loss leader. Don't be afraid to diversify. There's no harm in sticking to what you know works for you. If you sell clothing and that's all you sell and you do great and you love to sell clothing, awesome. But consider, just to try it out, add some shoes or handbags or fashion accessories, something that's complementary to your existing inventory that will cater to the same customer base, but that will give you more opportunities for sales. Because let's say a woman is shopping in your booth and all you sell is clothing, and okay, she's on the market for clothing today, well that's great, but what if she also needs a belt or she also needs a handbag? If you have a little bit of those items, you can cater to all of those customers' needs as opposed to being able to service only one of her needs and having her go elsewhere for the rest of her items. And you can also do very small purchases to test it out. You know, buy the minimum order with the supplier you're working with. Test out a new product line. If it works, go bigger. If it doesn't work, try something else. Have enough merchandise to fill your booth. Bare booths don't attract attention. Make sure that you buy enough product to fill your selling space to make it look abundant and attractive. Booths at the beginning of the day always tend to look full and nice, but if you visit a flea market towards the end of the day and a lot of the product has been depleted, they look a lot less attractive. So consider also keeping some items in the back to replenish after items sell out. That way it always looks full and attractive throughout the day. Don't be afraid of damaged merchandise. There is value in everything. So a lot of the products that are available on the liquidation market for flea market vendors are customer returns or items that are otherwise not perfect. They might have been taken out of the box, they might have been already previously used, they might be missing a part, they might be missing a remote control, they might be missing a button. That's normal and that's part of the industry. Don't assume that just because you plug it into the wall and it doesn't automatically turn on, that it's not sellable. There is a market for everything, and people really do love to fix stuff and repair things themselves. So if you do have damaged items and you're not too sure what to do with them, you can put them in a big bin at the front of your booth or somewhere in the back with a sign on them that says, all these items, $1, or all items, $2, or whatever the price that you want to put. People will rummage through and they'll take what works for them, and you can even put defective or imperfect on the sign. That way customers know that the items that are in there are not necessarily in working condition, but they can purchase them and repair them as they please. You would really be surprised what people buy when they have the means to repair them. People are super technologically savvy and electrically savvy these days, and just because you may not know how to repair or restore an item doesn't mean that your customer won't. And if you do know how to restore and repair items, do so before reselling them. Obviously, if you have a microwave that's not working, but you know how to fix it, do it. That little bit of time and investment of effort is going to pay off, because instead of putting that microwave in the $2 bin or the $10 bin or whatever your clearance bin is, you're going to put that microwave on the table as a sellable working unit. So if you do end up with products that are imperfect, don't just chuck them and assume they're valueless. Give it a try, and you'll be surprised at what will sell and for how much. Next, add seasonal items early. And by seasonal items, we mean holiday items. So Christmas items, Easter items, St. Patrick's Day items, 4th of July items, whatever holiday, Halloween. You can add, even if you don't typically sell holiday items, if decorations is not your bread and butter, that's okay. But it's still a good idea to have a section, even a small section, of holiday items in your booth. And doing so early in the year to catch shoppers who like to get a head start on holiday decoration and gift shopping. So even at the end of September or beginning of October, you can already open a sliver of your booth and dedicate it to Halloween or Christmas items. Don't wait till everybody's doing it. Be the first or one of the first people at your market who's offering this type of product, because you're going to get all those early sales. And then everybody else is going to catch on, and then we'll be back into the same type of competition. But the earlier you start to offer those items, the more of a monopoly you're going to have on that market right then. And most importantly, the earlier in the year you buy seasonal merchandise, the cheaper it is. Don't wait until October to buy merchandise for the Christmas season. Buy your gift wrapping and your Christmas tree decorations in January or in February or in March, when all of that excess inventory is being liquidated from the department stores and ending up at wholesaler locations. That's when you want to buy it. Because by the time the summer rolls around, everybody's going to be looking for that merchandise, so the prices are going to go up. So buy early, sit on it for a few months, and bring it out earlier than everyone else at your market to get a leg up on the competition. Source products actively. Use wholesale magazines, industry trade shows, business-to-business sourcing websites, and more to find new sources of product. Don't just assume that the one supplier you have is going to be your supplier forever, or that the one type of product that you have is the only type of product you want to sell, because what if it runs out? What if that item is no longer available in a month? What do you do then? So keep your options open, keep looking around, find companies to work with, find different types of products to work with until you build a nice little database of sources of your product. And the resource PDF that I'm going to give you at the end of the webinar is also going to have a list of publications, websites, and trade shows where you can go to find suppliers and merchandise. So this concludes the bulk of our training portion of the presentation. For those of you who are still with me, and I see there's a bunch of you, so thank you, I would like to briefly tell you about what via trading can do for you, and I'll tell you about the special offers that are going to be available to webinar attendees as soon as the webinar is over in a few minutes. So this is how via trading can help, and what we do to facilitate life for flea market vendors. So we are specialized in supplying flea market vendors with profitable merchandise. Of course, we don't only cater to flea market vendors. We cater also to online sellers, discount stores, auctioneers, wholesalers, but really our bread and butter is our flea market vendors. The people who are in our warehouse every day buying merchandise and going to resell it and coming back the next day are flea market vendors. We know what flea market vendors need, what they're looking for, and we cater to those needs. We carry a really big variety of brand name product from the nation's biggest department stores for pennies on the dollar. Some of the pricing that we offer is going to be extremely competitive, in some cases a little bit less so, but the variety that we offer is really unparalleled in this industry. We offer unique flea market merchandising displays. Those were the blue displays that we saw in the presentation with the cosmetics on them. We have several cosmetic lots where we offer a free display with the purchase of a cosmetic lot. So if that's something you might be looking into, selling cosmetics, you're going to get a display free of charge so you can test out how those things work for you. We also offer extensive flea market vendor resources. We developed 101 hints and tips for flea market vendors. The link to that will be available in your resource PDF. We write articles and how-tos for flea market vendors, and we provide resources on where to get or buy what you need to set up your business. We offer worldwide service and shipping. No matter where you are, we can get merchandise into your hands so you can start selling and turning a profit quickly. We also offer online real-time shipping quotes and a shopping cart. So wherever you are in the world, you can go to viatrading.com and you can do your flea market merchandise shopping. We have dedicated account managers to help you every step of the way. If you sign up with us, an account manager will reach out to you, get an understanding of your business, find out where you are in your process, and recommend hints and tips and merchandise that can be really good for you. And they'll stay in touch with you the whole time. Anytime you need anything, you can email or call your account manager. They'll be your direct point person with us and can keep you informed on new merchandise that comes in that's perfect for your business. And finally, our warehouse is open to the public. You can inspect the merchandise, you can come in, look at it, touch it, make sure it's right for you before you buy it, and then you can pick it up and take it away with you the same day so you don't have to pay for shipping. So those are the main ways that we can assist you and help you grow your flea market business, either from the ground up or just help you improve depending on where you're starting from. We are offering some special offers just for webinar attendees. So those of you who are live right now, as soon as the webinar ends, we will redirect you to a page where you'll be able to fill in a brief bit of information about yourself, and on the thank you page you will receive all of these goodies. We are offering a resource list, as I mentioned several times, that has on it trade shows you might want to attend, websites and publications you should look at for product sourcing, and a list of where to get what you need to excel in your business, from business cards to canopies to retail displays, merchandising displays, pre-printed price signs, and more. And you will also receive an exclusive discount coupon for any purchase that you make with Via Trading. This coupon does not expire, but we hope to work with you sooner than later. This is available for new and existing customers. So if you're already a customer of Via Trading, you've already worked with us, you will still be able to use this coupon. Just stay on the page at the end of the webinar and you'll be redirected to where you need to go. Thank you so much for listening and for being here today. As soon as this is over, fill out the information on the next page, and we look forward to working with you. Have a great rest of your week, and good luck with your sales.